Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Lady Charmaine live show. It's Hot Topics with Lady Charmaine, and we got a great show for you tonight. Tonight on the show, we're going to be talking about some very serious stuff. So what I want you to do right now is just take the time to share this video with all your family and friends. All you have to do is just press that share button right there, because tonight is Anonymous Thursday. So if this topic hits you in any kind of way, or if you know somebody that's been through this situation, even if it's yourself, we want you to call in and share your story with us. You can give us a call at 916-226-9226. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Okay, we want you guys to join the Lady Charmaine Live family and join our Hot Topics page, which is right over there. It's Hot Topics Real Talk. No chaser, because tonight's topic is real hot if you have not read it right there at the top. But tonight I got some homies joining me as they do every Thursday. Help me welcome my homies to the show, my partners in Hot Topics. We got Miss Amani Watts. What's up, girl?
Hello.
And then, yes,
Hey
and
now.
yeah, she say, "Hey now, y'all." And then we also have my boys. We have Mr. Derek Dennis,
What's poppin'?
and then we got my husband, Mr. Joe Bassett,
All right, all right.
and we got my girl, Miss Marie Hutchison.
Building.
Are you guys ready for tonight's topic?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
He said, "Oh yeah." Well, you know,
Yes.
tonight's topic is definitely going to be pretty deep. Now, a couple years ago, there was a man who was on the Oprah Winfrey Show. He goes by the name of Mr. J.L. King. J.L. King. He actually coined this term that we all learned from the Oprah Winfrey Show. It was called living on the down low, or they call it the DL. And what that was, it was actually married men who were living homosexual lifestyles, married men who were actually sleeping with other men, and some men did not even consider themselves homosexual. They just felt that they were married and their preference was to sleep with other men. And so there was a lot of men who have been keeping this particular secret. And recently, back in March, there was a pastor in North Carolina who was posting to his Facebook page and accidentally posted the wrong photo. He posted a photo of him in bed with another man and they were kissing. So now there's a new show that's out. It's a Fox show, which is actually executive produced by Miss Angela Bassett. It's called 911. It's on Fox. On the show, Angela Bassett finds out that her husband, who she's been married to for several years, she has 2 children, was living on the down low. So, you know, this is not anything that's uncommon, but it's coming out more and more. So this show today is about those who found out that their spouses was living on the down low, male or female. And we want to know, how did this affect the spouse, the wives? How did it affect the husbands? How did this situation and this information affect the children? So we're going to be diving into this today. If you have been in this situation, if you know somebody that's been in this situation, give us a call, 916-226-9226, because we want you to share your story today. You can call in anonymously. If you do not want to say your name, that's totally fine. We respect that. But we do want to hear your story. And right now, I'm going to kick it off. I'm going to throw it to my girl, Marie, who's on the show. And I want to know, Marie, I want to talk to you for a minute.
Yes.
This is a very personal topic for you.
Yeah.
So tell me.
Well, I don't even know how to tell a story. I was married to someone who, in a nutshell, as I found out later, which was a mighty blow, that he married me in order to get the heat off of him for what he was being investigated at work, which was apparently some homosexuality activity. And I didn't know that when I met him. I wasn't thinking about that when I met him. Let's get that part out there. I was trying to get out of the situation I was in, so I ended up getting married to this person. Didn't pay attention to what was going on. But we were married 2 years and didn't see any signs until one day he had this friend he was always with. And he was married too. And I decided, let's throw dinner for your friend and his lady. Let's have a dinner. He was like, oh, okay. So they come over and we're doing our thing. And she says to me, she's looking at me like this.
What that mean?
And I'm right. So I'm functioning. I'm walking around and she's just like, this whole look on her face. Come to find out later, nutshell, him were dating each other. They were doing their thing or whatever. And she had just had a baby just like me. So it was like maybe a month later, she ended up divorcing the guy. And he had brain cancer. I think he ended up dying.
Wow.
So, but here's the part. Here's the story, though. So we decided we were going through divorce. And The military don't play when you go to divorce, by the way. They kick you off if you're not an active member in the military. They would kick you off. So I'm going through all that, living at home with my mom. And I decided I had to go back to the house to get some things for my son because he was still a baby. So I had keys still. So I go into the house and I walk in. I see the TV's on and I hear the machine going. So I look into the living room and there's a half-naked guy on the couch asleep. Then I look to my right and there's a half-naked guy in the laundry room washing clothes. So I'm like, what is going on? So then I go upstairs to go to my son's room and there's a half-naked man on the floor sleeping.
It's a half-naked man party, is
right,
what you're telling me.
Right. So then I see my bedroom door shut. So I'm like, okay. I go to check it, and I can't get in there. And I hear talking in there. And so I started, like I said, what are you doing in there? Who's in there? Then I hear all the wrestling. So then I decided to go ahead and arm the door in because I'm strong like that.
Wow.
Amen.
Okay.
And so I shouldered the door in, and this is what I see him with this person. And the fight ensued. We fought all the way downstairs outside into the yard. So, so for me to experience that at that moment in time, I was really young. I think what I went into in that moment was like a self-protection mode. I went right into a self-protection mode. You know what I'm saying? I didn't really deal with what I had seen at that time because, to be honest, at that time, we didn't marry each other out of love. I was doing something to get out of it, and he was marrying me for his reasons. So that feeling that maybe a woman who was married for years would have gotten, I didn't really get. We were only married like 2 years. But this is where it hit me. I'm going to show you where it hit me. So I go through all that, get divorced, go through whatever. And I told you I had my son. So just maybe last year sometime, my son came out of the closet.
Oh, wow.
Right? So now I'm hearing from him and, that this is what's going on with him. And I freaked out. I freaked out for a whole lot of reasons. I'm trying to figure out how to talk about this so I can get to the point, but I freaked out. I had my little moment and I freaked out and I freaked out. And I was one of those people that would say, oh, gay people, whatever. It's cool. Don't be, you don't know what they've been through, blah, 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 blah. And then it landed at my front door with my son, right? And so I'm dealing with that and I'm freaking out. And then I'm learning that everybody around me knew but me. And I think a lot of women who've been through this, they'll experience that too. Everybody around you knew but you. That's hard, and then to have the discussion. So, and me and my son really haven't sat down yet and had the discussion. Wow. So how we're functioning, right? But we haven't really talked yet. And so the question is how I feel and how I dealt with that. Well, my son impacted me more than my marriage did, because I just didn't see that coming in my home. Now I'm gonna keep it real with y'all, right? Yeah. We Christian, we believe that's wrong, until it lands in your house. And I'm standing there and I'm like, come on, man. Right? And so then I'm dealing with my mom and she was like, she freaks out, but my son is a good person, you know what I'm saying? And he's a good guy, and I know we're gonna have our discussion, but he knows me. So we're taking it at a pace that I can handle. And so somebody said to me, how do you deal with that? I said, well, listen, this is how I deal with it. Simple, point blank. When I stand before God, how I treated my son in the midst of this information is what I will stand before God about.
Amen.
Okay?
Amen. That's
so
big.
I can feel any kind of way or whatever,
Right,
but
right.
my job is not to turn my back on my son and all these different things, to be there for him. But it was a mighty, mighty blow. It was hard because it goes against everything you're taught. It goes against everything you believe. And nobody talks about it. Just like with the preacher and the people, we're around people every day, and nobody talks about the family and how they're affected. Nobody talks about that process. And so we're hanging out here because the church don't talk about it.
Right.
Okay? And your Christian friends, they don't talk about it. Because what happens is, because one of the first things I went through was a really selfish thing. Everybody going to be looking at me. Everybody was already looking at me.
Right.
Right?
To be honest, yeah.
And they knew more than you.
I don't want people thinking. And then the
Okay.
next thing was, oh my God, I'm not going to get grandkids. All of my first thoughts were, in my opinion, were selfish thoughts. It didn't go into thinking, okay, my son, he's in this. He's chosen his lifestyle. How is he dealing with this? You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of people immediately what they do is they blow up and then they cut people out. They start cutting you out and cutting you out and cutting you out. instead of finding out for them and yourself what happened. Right? I'm still trying to prepare myself for the what happened, if there's a what happened. Or preparing myself for whatever his answer is, because I don't know.
Right.
You know, because in your mind you're thinking, well, who touched you?
Right.
Who
Right.
did something to you? What happened?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That's the first place you go, especially when it's your child. But when it comes to the marriage thing, somebody gonna have to call in about that, because I didn't care. I was too into my life at that time, and I was like, go on, do your thing. But where it would hit me was I would go to places with people. Hey, wasn't you married to so and so? Hey, he gay?
Okay.
And I'm like,
Ooh.
what? Oh yeah, I was his sergeant. And there's a whole investigation. You didn't know that?
But Maria, I have a question for you. How did you not know? What were supposed to be the signs that you were supposed to see that your husband was gay?
I didn't see any.
Was anything different for you in bed? Because some people say they notice when
Okay.
they're in bed with their
Okay.
spouse that something is just not right.
Okay, good
Spill
point.
the tea,
Because
girl.
good point. Because what happened was the sex was cool, but this is what happened. Because we grown. I wanted to get it all the time as much as I could. I wanted to get it. He came home one day and was like, you know what? Oh my God, Marie, like having sex with you was like a chore.
Ooh.
Uh-oh. Excuse you?
Red
went-
flag.
Throw a flag on the play,
Sex
huh?
with your
Yeah.
wife is a chore.
So he
You should
told
be
you
trying
that.
to get it more and more and more and more and more.
You know,
So,
right? And so then after the divorce, after the breakup and everything, then it all starts coming out. You know what I'm saying? So,
Especially when a man says it's like a chore.
Yeah.
right, that part.
Yeah.
And I was just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
a chore. And so I shut down after that. After that statement, I literally shut down. And I was
Yeah.
like,
Y'all already
whatever.
be hurting our feelings when y'all say it's a chore. Y'all tired and, a headache.
You know, but I walk in love in this situation. You really have to walk in, and I'm speaking just for me, because I know some people have been through this and still trying to recover because they don't get it. But my suggestion would be relax. Of course, pray about it and just walk in love, because we can't control what people do. First of all,
That's true.
we can't control how people decide to do what they do. And that's what I had to come to the realization with my son. My son was more impactful than my marriage was, like I said. So
Really?
my son, yeah. And with my son, I did see the signs.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And then the next thing you go through is when it's your child, you're like, what did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong? What did I do? What did I miss? You know what I'm saying? And then that whole thing, I still deal with that.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And it's how I deal with it is I literally have given it to God, and I walk in love. And it's not easy, you know what I'm saying, to know that that's the lifestyle my son chose. But at the same time, I'm concerned about him because of what that lifestyle brings. So my concern for him is not that he's choosing to be with men. My concern is live through it. Don't, you know what I'm saying? I don't want nothing to happen to you while you're doing, I don't know.
Right.
How I deal with it is we have given it to God,
Mm-hmm.
and I walk in love. And it's not easy.
That's
You know what I'm saying? To know that that's
Can,
the
can,
lifestyle
can
my
you
son-
turn your phone down, please? Thank you for calling in. Hello.
Hey, Charmaine, it's me.
Oh, hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm good.
Good. Well, you're live
Is that
on the air. Can we hear you? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. Can you turn your phone down? Because we hear your phone, too.
Hi.
Hello, you there? Hello? Okay, go ahead and finish your story.
No, I was just basically saying that it's because I'm still in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm still in it because I haven't had the talk that I need to have with my son. With his dad, you know, his dad is still, you know, pretty active in it, but he got remarried to another woman. So he's doing the down low thing, like real talk. You know what I'm saying? He don't want nobody to know that's what he doing. So he stays with women and he stays married.
Hi, you're live on Hot Topics.
Good evening, Lady Charmaine.
Hey, good evening. Good. Now you sound a little bit better.
Just a bit better. Okay.
Okay, yeah, good, yeah, yeah. So just a note to everybody: when you call in, make sure your phone is down because we get the feedback through our headphones. So, and it's kind of like there's a
Right.
delay there, so we hear the. I'm just letting everybody in the audience know if you call in, make sure your phones are down because there's a delay, so we hear ourselves talking back to us. So, how you doing, lady?
I'm good. How are you, hey, bud?
Good, thank you so much. This is someone that's calling in because they actually have a story to share as well, and so I want you to be able to share your story briefly, and I want you to tell us, how it made you feel. You probably heard Maria; she was sharing her story, and you've actually gone
Yes.
through
Yeah.
the same similar thing. So, can you share with us about your story?
Absolutely. I love what I've heard thus far. I think one of the things that I kind of want to throw a little wrench in there. You talked about or asked about how do you know if that person is on the down low or if that spouse is gay. I think one unique thing about me that's different is that when I married my husband, I knew that he had been in a same-sex relationship for 8 years. And he actually shared that information with me. But the problem with that was that, like any other woman, what's love got to do with it?
Come on,
Love has
girl.
everything to do with it.
Come on, girl.
I'm going to love him. He's going to love me back. And we're going to have a fairy tale ending, and that's going to be it.
Yes,
Didn't
ma'am.
turn out that way. I knew he was involved in a relationship. I went through the challenge of him missing his former lover as if I wasn't present. He cried about him almost every day. We had to watch the movies they watch and listen to the music they listen to. And even when it came to the sexual part, as Marie said, we grown folks. And, trying to bring that on board, oftentimes I would get turned down. So, it's difficult to go through the changes like that. And, and the challenge is how do I compete with another man? Because as
Jesus.
women, we know how to deal with other women. But how do you compete with another man? Because you can't, there's certain things we can wear or certain things we can do or say or, the way we fix our hair, whatever we do as a woman to make sure we keep our man's attention. But when you're competing with another man, as he told me, he says there's a certain touch, there's a certain feeling that we get from each other when we're together as men, and no woman can touch that. No woman can alter that. No woman can change that. Can you imagine the surprise, with that? So it was a long 6 years. It destroyed my self-esteem. It destroyed how I looked at myself and viewed myself. I went through, being embarrassed and being ashamed, not even being able to hold my head up. People were talking and people were gawking, people were looking. And even after I was long gone from that marital relationship, there were some people that even said to me, I was just watching to see how you were going to stand, to see if you were going to be able to make it.
Wow.
He's like, you think it would have been better off if you would have prayed for me instead of trying to watch?
Right.
So, it was a challenge with that. In the process of that marriage, I was raped about 3 times, because, it was like he didn't want to have sex, but because I was insistent, and it was very degrading and it was very harsh. 6 months into the marriage, I found out he had a boyfriend. How do you deal with that? So, and, I always call this my season of temporary insanity. We were together, and I would say to him when his boyfriend was over, let me know when he's gone. Then I can come home.
Okay, wait.
Or, he would come home, and I would come home from work, and he would be on the phone chit-chatting with his boyfriend, but he really didn't want to have a conversation with me. For the most part, I was just a covering, just someone there to keep, him occupied. So we went through a lot with that. His way of loving me, as he said, was just not what I wanted or needed or expected as a woman. If someone had told me years before, oh, one day you're going to marry someone and he's going to be a homosexual or gay or bisexual or what have you, I would have told them they were crazy. But it taught me so much about God, much more about God than I thought I could ever know, and about myself as a woman, and about people, and especially church folks.
Yes.
Because
Come
church
on.
folks are a whole nother, they're a whole nother trip. A whole nother trip.
It's brutal.
Yes.
It's brutal.
A whole nother trip, The church folks will talk about you, but they won't pray for you. The church
There's no
folks will
support
watch
system.
and watch you sink, but they won't come and protect you. They won't come and pull you out. So you're pretty much on your own, So, And towards the end, when he became, sick and he was diagnosed with HIV, the Lord blessed me. He kept me because when I went to go and get tested, I wasn't HIV positive.
Jesus.
And that wasn't nothing but God.
Wow.
It wasn't nothing but God. And when we parted ways, I kept him on my insurance because I wanted to make sure he had the best care. So this is not about hate or unforgiveness. I want you to be okay. But, it was a very well lesson learned for me because, as I said at the beginning, I knew that he had been involved in a same-sex relationship. The problem was is that when God told me not to, I did. So I did override. I was disobedient, and I had to pay. But, man, I tell you, it really stripped me. It really took me through. It took me, I want to say, about 2 to 3 years to recover, to get back from the shell of the person that I was. The only reason why I didn't commit suicide, you all, is because I was too afraid of messing up and going to hell.
Okay.
That's a good reason. It kept you here. It kept you here.
Whatever
Shoot.
it takes, that's it.
Whatever
Wow.
it takes.
Girl.
But this is a topic that people really don't talk about. There are so many women
Yes, ma'am.
that are in the church that are married to men who are on the down low or who are in same-sex relationships, and they know it. But it's like there's no one they can talk to or turn to because they're going to be ostracized or ridiculed or talked about, so they don't share it. That's not good.
It's
not good at all.
There's
But anyway, I just
another.
want to share.
Well, wait a minute, hold on. There's another deep part to your story that I was wanting to know if you was going to share it. And a part of her story, since nobody know who she is that's on the phone, her husband was also involved with her sister's fiance.
Oh my. That is a
Right.
plot twist.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
You went through a lot, girl. That makes my story a cakewalk. Oh my gosh. but you know what? You're right when you're talking about the support system, and I'm glad that you harped on that real quick because when I went through I was by myself. I was in my car, and I had nobody to talk to. I felt like if anybody I called, I felt like I was gonna get what, and it was gonna be tea, and it was gonna be something they could run back and tell. They weren't gonna, hold my heart for me in that moment, and I just went through that all by myself, and and even today, I share it, I give it as testimony, and there's different things that happen, but there was still nobody, outside of my family that's like, me and my mom talk about it. My mom is good support because of how we are attacking it in the spirit.
Amen.
Okay. So, but to go to church and to be around people that you need to support you and everybody got their cross fingers up on you because of why. This is why I need you most. And they just watched you go through that.
right.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question that, I hope it don't offend you, but I'm going to ask anyway because it's on my mind. And because regardless if it was a man, a woman, or whatever, what point it was a point in your story where you said you would allow him to come and cry about his ex-lover, and you would watch the movies that they like. Whether it was a man or a woman, I don't really know too many women that would let a man cry over a female or a man and absorb that. Do you know the damage that you were letting into your life, or where were you at that point? Were you in love? What possessed you to make yourself watch the movies and mourn his relationship with him? I don't get that part. I'm sorry.
That's okay, and I'm not offended. But trust you me, I'm not offended. But like I tell people all the time, that was my season in life, what I call temporary insanity. And yes, I really was. I truly thought and felt that I loved him. I was in love with him, and I wanted, in my mindset at that season, I wanted to please him. I wanted to make him happy. I wanted to help him to try to heal from whatever it was that he was hurting from. And I felt that if I listened to what he wanted to listen to and watch what he wanted to watch, this would help him through his process, and it would help him to see that I was there for him. And so you're not the first person that have asked that, and it is. It sounds crazy. And like I said, I always say, man, that was my time of temporary insanity, and I thank God for bringing me out. But yes, I felt like I really loved him, and I really wanted to really help him.
Okay.
And yeah. So
I can understand that because when you're living out of a broken place, that's you open to anything.
Yeah, because that's a temporary insanity. That's the key word to make sense, because it's like, okay, well, you have to be in a midst of being insane at 1% to be able to engulf all of that.
Yep.
Man, woman,
Put yourself
whatever.
through
Because and when you think about it to the core, that's a deep love, because you really and then you
Yes.
must have a nurturing spirit. It must be your
does.
foundation to nurture
Yep.
somebody through something, you know, on top of loving them like that. So, I mean, that's
Exactly. That
something
was it.
serious. So I commend you, and God bless you.
Girl, I
And
love you.
may God keep on covering.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for calling in, girl, and sharing your story. I appreciate you.
She made it through that. God,
Okay.
Thank you, Lady
You
Charmaine. All right.
Bye bye.
golly.
Well, if you got a story that you want to share, give us a call, 916-226-9226. We definitely want to hear from you. We are talking about men living on the down low, the DL, married with children, and then your wife finds out that you were living on a down low. How did it affect you? How did it affect your children? Hi, you're live on Hot Tops with Lady Charmaine.
Hi.
Hi.
I was calling because I have a similar story, but mine is a little different.
Okay.
I'm actually the daughter of a down low man, and so I chime in in that respect. So basically, I found out that my dad was homosexual when I was 15. My parents were going through a really bad divorce, and I didn't know why. My mom wouldn't tell me, my dad wouldn't tell me. So I snuck into his room, and I found some pictures of him and his quote-unquote roommate. And those pictures, they were both dressed in the same tuxes. There was a limo. My grandparents were there, my uncles, my aunt, and just like people, and they had a ceremony.
Wow.
And, this was like in the early 2000s. So this is before anything could be legal or was legal. And when I saw there's one picture of him kissing the other guy. And so I took that picture. And when he got home, I showed him the picture. And I was like, "Are you gay?" And he was like, "No, we were just drunk. Ha, ha, ha," or whatever. And my dad died when I was 17. And he never admitted to me that he was homosexual, but I knew he was. He lived in an area that was predominantly homosexual. His neighbors, his quote-unquote roommates, like all of them were gay. So it's just like you can't be surrounded by all these gay people, have these pictures and all this
And be
stuff, and
masculine as
still try to
fuck.
convince me that you're heterosexual. I'm not stupid. So I finally asked my grandfather, his dad, after he passed, and he said yes. And I asked my mom, and she cried about it. She didn't know that I knew. I literally had no one to talk to because at that point in time, I was terrified for my dad. As a Christian, I was afraid of my dad going to hell. My prayer from childhood was that my dad would go to heaven, that my dad would be saved. And, being raised Baptist, it was like, that was like, no, you're for sure going to hell like that. So I was scared. I was embarrassed. I was I just didn't know what to do, how to think or feel about the fact that my dad was homosexual. And then him lying to my face about it. So I couldn't talk to him about it. I knew I couldn't talk to my mom about it. I talked to one of my friends from middle school who was actually lesbian. And she was like, "Oh, that's so cool." And I was just like, "Okay, you're not the right
You're
person
not
to
it.
talk
Yeah.
to."
Moving on.
So I literally had no one to talk to, and I just kind of kept it to myself for years. And it wasn't until I went to college my sophomore year and I received Jesus Christ for myself, not just being raised, but actually received for myself, that the Lord helped me get through that and truly forgive my dad for tons of stuff, but including the homosexuality, as well as being relieved of that embarrassment and everything, and be able to see that as a testimony rather than as like an embarrassing secret within my family.
Right.
So I have an older brother, and he knew, but he never told me. Once my parents got divorced, like, he became very angry, and he found out before I did, but he never told me. He just randomly was like, "I'm not going to go visit Daddy anymore," and he stopped. He didn't visit my dad for years. And I just recently talked to him, and he told me that the one thing that he wished he did differently with my dad was how he received my dad being homosexual. And it's partly because I think he might be homosexual. He hasn't told us, and he probably won't tell us. He just for years has never had a girlfriend. He doesn't want kids. He's very, if we ask him anything about dating, he gets really angry and really defensive. And so we stopped. But I kind of found some stuff on one of his phones that he let me borrow, his old phones that he let me borrow, that kind of point towards him being homosexual.
What did you find?
And I found old apps of like homosexual chat rooms.
Dating site, yeah.
So I wanted to confront him, and just ask him, not be like, oh, condemn him or anything like that, but just ask him. But I just know how angry he gets. And my husband told me, let him come to you. So I'm waiting and hoping that, he'll come to me and maybe let me know if he is. I know he won't tell my mom, because my mom is still angry. Mm-hmm. It's been, I'm going to say like 20 years. It's been at least 13 years since my dad passed, and she's still angry and still very, very hurt by the fact that my dad was homosexual. She had the same thought process as I believe one of you said, like, how do you fight with another man? I remember she said that how do you compete with another man? She used to tell me she doesn't have the right tools, so she didn't know how to compete. So it was very hurtful, very, and so if she were to find out that my brother was homosexual, it would probably break her heart. And so I think that's another reason why he, hasn't come out the closet to us, his family, or at least like me and my mom. I don't know about my cousins and stuff, but yeah. So, but coming from a kid's perspective, of my dad being homosexual, it was very hard and very confusing, because I knew what it was, but I didn't know what it was. And as a Christian, knew it was a bad thing in Christendom. But yeah, I've never, got to confront him or anything like that, unfortunately, or, really like talk to him about it and see like why or what. I only know my mom's side. I know that, like, she said the way she found out was him and his childhood friend. While they were married, when my parents were married, they were in a relationship, and he was married too. But so they were, cheating on their own wives with each other, and that's essentially how everything started. My mom still wanted to try to work things out, but my dad was really mean and was like, no, I don't want you, I want a man. So from what she tells me, so yeah, it's been interesting going through this process with my mom and not having my dad here, now that she knows that I know, and now that I'm old enough, I guess, to discuss it with her.
Did your mother ever say how she actually found out about your dad?
I believe she said she found notes and like stuff on his computer first. Okay. And I'm not exactly sure if she caught them in the act, but somehow she caught something. I do know that. And she went into investigative mode, and like,
as women do,
yeah, she did some stuff she wasn't supposed to. She took some laptops from his job to like sneak on and try to find stuff, and she did that stuff. But I don't 100%. I can't 100% say that my dad like told her like I'm gay or anything like that. It was just like they both knew it, but it never like he never really like admitted to saying like I'm gay. He was just gay, but he never said like, hey, by the way, I'm gay or anything like that. It was just, yeah, he never came out. It was what it was, kind of thing. So yeah.
Wow. So for you, how are you doing today? I'm sure you're older. You say you found out when you were in high school. So for you, how does that make you feel now, knowing that your brother may possibly be gay as well? So how are you handling that?
It hurts. it makes me sad because I mean I still believe in the Word of God, and I still believe that it's not of God, but I know that I need to love. So it's a difficult, and it's something I'm praying on how to balance that, not just with my brother, but just with people in the world. We have a couple other family members that are the same, that are homosexual, and how to deal with that without, pushing them away from God, or without seeming too religious, and without conforming to what they want us to conform to in their beliefs. That it's right. It's been a challenge, but I think if I were able to have a conversation with my brother, it would be easier, maybe, like just knowing, rather than just like having a thought, or and having the sneakiness or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, so it's hard, but I don't know. It's just something that just I'm praying through. That's all I really can do. I'm praying for my brother and my mom and everything. So,
Go ahead, Marie.
I do have a response to that. Because this is where I went in my mind when I was dealing with the things I'm dealing with my son and different things like that. I love my pastor, Ricky Nutt, because one thing that he taught us is, one thing I watched him do and he taught is, some people, especially Christians, we think we're supposed to hang out in certain places and because we scared to hang out somewhere because it's going to get on us and we get all weird because, we worried about spirits and stuff like that, right? Which is real and things like that can happen. But one thing Pastor Nutt did was he always would say, how you going to reach who you're going to reach if you stay in the way, right? How you going to get the word to who you need to get the word to if you're behind the fence looking in? So for me, when my son came out with things that he, and as I'm growing through this, my mind now, because I've given to God, but my mind is now, let me go back to this. There was a lady who was on a video, and she was talking to her son. Her son gave her an ultimatum. Either you're going to love me in my situation, or you're just not going to deal with me at all. And because she was a Christian, she was like, we're not going to deal with it at all. And with that statement being made, my mind went to, well, that's crazy, because my son may be doing what he's doing, and he may have a boyfriend, but that boyfriend has a family. So I'm not going to kick myself out the circle because somebody in that family may need God. Somebody in that family I may be able to reach with how I'm acting and deal with the situation and give somebody to Christ. That's how my mind deals with that. So we can, of course it's wrong. Of course it is what it is. We don't agree with it. But there are lives around that situation that could be touched by how we respond to what is in our lap. Does that make sense?
Correct.
So that's how I function.
Yeah.
So I'm functioning out of a place, and it kills me. It kills me because I'm like, oh, my son, his legacy, grandson, all my kids and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I can trip like that, but there's a bigger picture. So if I can get, so if my son's doing what he's doing, around behind him are a bunch of people that he know that are watching the situation and are watching me and watching how I respond to it. And that's what's important to me, how God, through me, through this situation, that's what's important. That's what's important. You know what I'm saying? We got, our feelings are a part of it, but it gets to a place where we have to sit those feelings in a special place. I'm not saying aside or forget, because we can't. But those feelings in a special place so that God can do what he has to do. Because when we're angry and when we're mad, we're blocking. When we're angry and mad about anything, we're blocking any move God can do. And this is a situation that is one of those situations. I'm not going to dismiss myself from it. Because my son said to me, the reason I didn't come and say anything to you is because I would hear how you guys would talk about it around the house, and I was scared to say something to you. Right? I don't want to be that person. That's where my mind goes when I deal with my situation that I've experienced. It was hard. It was hard. And I'm listening to your story, baby. That's hard. It's hard to deal with that. It's hard to accept that, or where to put that in your body, in your mind. Like, where do I put this information? You know what I'm saying? But just in my opinion, and from what I'm experiencing, think about everybody around you connected. Just, it's one of those things. Just think about all the people around you that's connected, because there's somebody in this loop that need to hear from God. Somebody in this loop need to hear the truth about the Lord. And it's not, no, you ain't right, you gonna go to hell. No, because sometimes you can sit and talk to a person and just hear where they're coming from. Because a lot of this stuff, right, because a lot of this stuff people need to talk about. The person who's going through needs to sit down and say, okay, this is what I'm doing.
Right.
They're looking for that ear. But if you got that ear of those Christians that are afraid of homosexuality,
You yelling.
Okay.
I heard you, girl.
Okay.
I'm
Let it
saying
be
because
known.
it's brutal.
It really
Because
is.
people who believe in God and when it comes to can be brutal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But they're missing the point. You're still in the ministry.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know what they mad for. Half
Yeah.
the church gang.
Come on,
That
man.
part.
The choir, everybody.
Yeah, right.
Everybody.
They want you to come do the music, and they want you
So
to
what
bring
is you
this-
mad at for?
That
Don't
part.
judge nobody when
That part.
your son or your
That part.
nephew or your niece is a lesbian. They up there directing the choir. What is you mad for when it's sadly to say it sometimes derives from there? You know. So like, don't get mad on the public. Because you're in the hospital sick, because that's what church is to me sometimes. It's a
That's what it's
hospital,
supposed to be.
and people are healing. Ain't nobody in there A1. So everybody is healing, and they
From
constantly
something.
judging people. That's why the
Amen.
church has been diminished to people living in the Trinity. The Lord, Jesus, God, and yourself. You know, they don't even mix. And you go to church to mix and mingle with your brothers and sisters, and then you have to deal with that. You know what I'm saying?
You know, and I always say too, you know, like my son is doing what he's doing, but I don't have to go to the gay club to love him.
Right.
I don't have to dye my hair all the rainbow colors to love him.
Right. That's
You know what
real
I'm
talk.
saying? And a lot of people think, oh, I can't relate to
Mm-hmm.
that. Ain't nobody saying relate to it.
Yeah.
But stand in what the Word of God says and use love and function in that because love goes a long way.
You know, one thing that I
Say
heard
that.
in all the different stories is how lonely that place is for somebody going through.
Yes, sir.
And even if they're involved in church, it's still a lonely place. And it shouldn't be that way when you have a fellowship of believers, but not knowing, like I said, not wanting to talk about it, not wanting to address it, wanting to like it doesn't exist when it
Exist.
does.
Exactly.
People
Like it's cooties.
exist.
Exist.
You can't just
Exactly.
put them out and say, well,
Thank
you know,
you. Thank you, Pastor.
they're still people. They're your son. They're your fathers. They're your relatives.
That part,
It's,
yeah.
it's people.
Yeah.
And God deals with people. And
that's
for
right.
for people to go to a church or be a part of a church and even have friends and not be able to talk about that,
That's the sad part.
it's
It's
sad.
scary and it hurts because, like I said, and like the girl on the phone, who you talk to now? Is she still on the phone? Is she gone?
You're here, right? Oh, she may have
Yes.
hung up. Oh,
Okay,
she's
so
there.
who do you have to talk to now to make the point? Like who do you talk to? You probably have somebody at this point to talk to, but you were at that place where it was like, like you said, who can I share this with? Because I need somebody just to hear me, not necessarily respond, just hear me.
Not listening.
Do you have someone
You
to
said
talk to?
who do I
do
talk
you have
to now?
someone? Yeah.
Yeah, well, my husband, I confided in my husband. He kind of understands because his brother came out to him a couple years ago, and you know he was really hurt. But so we were able to come together on that, and you know, and just talk about
a
it
support,
when we
yeah.
need to. When it comes, talk about homosexuality. As well as like how, you know, because we've had the conversations like, oh, what if he gets married? You know, will we let our kids come? It just turns into this whole, you know, other thing. So we are able to confide in each other and talk to each other about what we would do for the future and, you know, and as well as pray for him, pray together, pray just about everything and pray how to love, you know, our main thing that we came together on is that no matter what, he is our brother. His brother is our brother. My brother is our brother. If my dad was here, you're still my dad, is love. Like that's the one thing that God has always been about is just love. So loving on them, even if we don't agree with them,
Exactly.
and their practice of homosexuality, just loving them and still making them feel like family. But even with that said, there's certain things that we probably, you know, wouldn't allow, and coming to agreement on that. Like, I don't think if he were to get married, I personally don't feel comfortable letting my daughters go to the wedding. But that's a conversation we're still going back and forth on as, you know, well, is that right? Is it not right? And at least at this age, because they don't understand and we're really not in a place to, I don't really feel prepared to explain like really in-depth homosexuality. We've had to explain certain things that they've seen on TV, but to explain that to them. So we've decided, like, if he were to get married soon, we wouldn't let them go, and being able to have comfort in, okay, we're in agreement on this. So he is really the only person. I don't have any friends that, understand that. Normally people that I tell, my testimony to or tell them about my father, it's usually like, wow, oh my goodness, that's so hard, so I get that rather than like, any kind of info or, comfort or anything like that. It's just like, wow, you've gone through a lot in your life kind of thing. So I don't really tell too many people anymore unless it like comes up. It's kind of like just another story in my life now. It's not anything where I'm still heartbroken like that over. With my brother, we just recently found this out like a month and a half ago. Wow. So with my brother, it is fresh. So we haven't talked to anyone about it, but he was there with me when we found the app. So he was there for me to cry on when I found out. And he was there to kind of help me through it because he had been through that with his brother. And so he is essentially my go-to when it comes to having to discuss anything about homosexuality within our family and family members.
Well, at least you have someone that you can definitely talk to and, and share your feelings with, and someone who understands exactly what you're going through. And that's a blessing because a lot of people don't necessarily have that because, it is a shame that we as Christians can be very judgmental. Although we have a lot of skeletons in our closet, as long as no one saw our skeletons in our closet, we're going to point our fingers back at you. And I remember my old pastor, Pastor Bob Jackson, Axville Gospel. Happy 34th anniversary there in their church anniversary. Yes, so happy anniversary to you all that's celebrating tonight. But he used to always say, when you point one finger, there's four more pointing right back at you. And it's a shame that we have that, and we try to have this whole superiority, and we have a thing that we call super saints. So you may be a saint, but I'm a super saint, and I ain't sinned all day long. Now you're lying. Now you just lied.
Sin number one.
Right. You just lied.
Holier than thou.
Because if you think of things, and it's unfortunate that we're trying to, scale the fish before we catch them. You know what I mean? Instead of just showing the love of God, because we know that the love of God is a deep love that we have to show people in order for them to even see God. But unfortunately, the people in the church, we're not possessing that. So when they walk in, no one sees him. They see us, but they don't see the Lord. And that's something that we have to work on. And so I just want to commend you on just showing the love of God and still yet working through that. So I appreciate you. And thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
I want to say two things. One thing I want to say, because I'm going to challenge something she just said. If my son decided to get married today, I'd go. And I'd take Ava with me. Because let me tell you something, because these schools are relentless and they're teaching it in school. It's on TV. It's everywhere. You can't hide from it.
Everybody.
These kids are getting it at 5 and 6 and 7 years old. They're seeing this.
Yep. Quickly.
So I would. To me, it's just my opinion, because everybody raise their kids the way they want to. But for me, the way I am. If my son decided to get married, I'd go.
And if my
because
daughter,
you know what I
that's real
know,
talk,
because you know what I know, that at that wedding is some people that need Christ.
Sure.
Right.
And ain't
How
no
about
way
that?
that I'm gonna sit up there and deny, like, I love the Lord. Everybody know I love the Lord. I've been raised in church by my grandmother and grandfather. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna have to take that L
It ain't
with
about
God,
me.
just like I take it every day with whatever sin I make, involuntary or voluntary. If one of my children come to me and say, "Well, Dad, I'm gay," and I said, "Okay, well, baby, you know what? I'm gonna point this place out for the Bible for you, because I am a Christian, and with this information, you do what you want. But at the end of the day, I'm letting you know that in the way that we're living our life and the way you was raised is looked at as a sin biblically." But now I did my job as a parent. I retained you with the information. What you do with it is what you do with it. But guess what? I'm your parent, and no matter what, I'm gonna love you to the core.
Right.
Now, I don't want you kissing all up in front of me, but that's with any relationship. I don't want a boy or girl kissing, man on man, girl on girl. That's just respect that you have for your parents. But as far as who you love, that's your sexual preference. It don't got nothing to do with your heart, with your mind, with your spirit. It's your sexual preference with you. I ain't got nothing to do with when you in the bedroom. But the love that I'm gonna have for my child is unconditional, and ain't nobody gonna change that. If the Lord is gonna just shun me for loving on my child because they told me that they gay, then I guess I'm going to hell. Because ain't no way that the gift that God gave me, I'm supposed to turn my back on and shun because of their sexual preference.
Like
so
I said,
I'm not gonna
my
do it.
son has to stand before God for the choice he made, and I have to stand before God on how I dealt with the
Bottom
choice
line.
he made.
I'm not gonna do it.
You know, that's the number one thing that Christ taught. He taught love. So to ostracize somebody, that's so wrong. And where is Christ in the church as us being the body of the
Amen.
church? How are we exercising that? You know, we're not at that point. I'm thankful that, you know, I'm born and raised in church. Y'all know I'm a little church girl. But my mom, she was that parent that let me go and be with the homosexuals, the transgenders. Baby, let me tell you something. They had your girl on fleek, okay? And I was thankful about it every Sunday, okay? Because I was going to praise the Lord cute and indifferent, okay? Hallelujah.
That part.
But
So-
see, I think people get it confused. They think, you know, somehow you have to agree with somebody in
That
order to
part.
love them,
Absolutely.
or you have to,
Yeah.
you don't have to. You can disagree without being disagreeable.
Absolutely.
I can love you without agreeing with your lifestyle or
Absolutely.
agreeing with what
Yes,
you do or
sir.
how you think or all that, because love transcends all that.
That's
I mean,
right,
my
Joe.
son, my daughters, you know, my friends, you can still love them and show them the love of God without you having to change your lane.
Right.
You ain't gotta go to no gay club to
that's
love
where
you.
you're
Okay.
at.
Bye.
I
ain't gotta
don't
hang
agree.
with your gay friends to
Yeah,
love
but I
you.
still love you.
Right.
Yeah.
When you come to my
Still
house,
love
is how
you.
we get down. Ain't nothing
Yeah.
changed. Only thing that's
Exactly.
changed is that you like boys now.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's this, and it's your preference.
And when God gets through, we gonna see
And,
what happens.
and you will be tested in that. I remember when my brother Monte, God bless his soul, we have the same dad. And when I met my brother for the first time when I was 15 years old, and we used to talk on the telephone, but I met him for the first time when I was 15. And then when we met in person, I didn't know that he was gay. But it didn't affect my relationship with him. You know, he was still my brother. And, you know, we talked all the way up until, you know, he ended up passing away several years ago. But my point is, he knew where I stood. I knew where he stood. And I
Right.
wasn't going
And
to
y'all was
change
still
him
fine.
being my brother. I didn't have to go to the gay clubs with him. I didn't have to do any of that because he was still yet my brother. So how can I say that I have the love of God in me, but then I shun my own brother?
Right.
Right.
You know, I can't say that because how is he going to see Jesus regardless? And we have that really, 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 really bad. We'll accept somebody that we know in church that we know that they didn't cheated on their wife, you know, and then we'll welcome back and we'll still go to church, but let somebody, because we rate sin,
Oh,
big
yeah,
sin,
yeah,
little sin.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, we have these. Thank you. There's degrees, and we have these scales. You know, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so, just we as a people, we just have to perfect our love walk. That's what we call it. We just have to perfect our love walk.
I'm gonna share this with y'all real quick because at the mall out here, I was walking and there was some the LBGT. Is that, am I saying it right? The community. They were trying
There's
to.
a few more letters
girl.
of that, but
Oh,
go
Yeah,
ahead.
they added some letters, but they were had a petition or whatever. So I'm walking in the mall, and a young man, I saw him. He's coming for me. He told me, "Would you like to stop?" And da da da. And this is kind of just when I kind of found out about my son. And I looked at him. I said, "You know, but it was him." I said, "No, I'm not trying to be funny, but he was, you know."
Right.
So I said, "You know what?" I said, "I just found out my son. Blah blah. Blah. I'm sharing my story with him." And I said, "I'm looking at you, and I'm not going to sign that because I don't agree with a lot of things. But at the same time, I just want to let you know that I love you."
Oh.
That boy cried.
I was gonna say that had to hit
eyes
him.
out. And before I knew it, one of the other guys came over. He's like, "What's going on?" And he was like, "This lady just told me she loved me," and so we got into this whole conversation about the Lord. They started breaking down their stories about their lives and what they've been through, and a lot of them you were like, that's why. You see what I'm saying? So it was like this whole little church meeting out in front of the mall that day. But when it was said and done, they were like, "We've never had anybody just come and just love on us like that. When we stand here, all we get spit on. All kind of stuff happens to us. You don't agree with us, but you just loved us."
Because see, I would want someone, if one of my kids came to me, I would hate for my child to come home and tell me that someone spit on my child.
Oh no.
You know, I don't know what that would do to me to tell, you know, for you to spit on my child or mistreat my child because
You would
they're
have to
still
sit that Christian hat
thank
down.
you.
Okay.
Because they are still a human being.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we as Christians we have to look at if it was your child that came home, would you appreciate somebody spitting on your child? Would you appreciate somebody ostracizing your child? And you have to look at it like that.
You'll
And
find
I know
yourself in a fight
I
you don't
want,
believe
thank
in.
you, and I don't want anyone doing that.
Go get the
you know,
Vaseline.
to my child.
You'll find
Hold
yourself in
my
a fight
earrings.
that you don't believe in because that's your
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. But if you've been in this situation, if you were in a down low relationship, if you are a male and you're living down low, you can give us a call. You don't have to say your name. We want to hear your story. What was it like when you had to tell your spouse? And ladies, what was it like when your spouse came and told you? And men, if your wife came and told you, if you caught your wife living a down low lifestyle, we want to hear your story. Give us a call, 916-226-9226. If there's any more children out there of parents that was living on the down low, we want you to share your story. Thank you to those who called in thus far to share your stories.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And our goal here is to let other people know that you are not alone. Sometimes people feel like they're the only ones that's gone through this because no one has shared their story. And oh my goodness, I'm living with this secret. I don't want people to know that my spouse is living this down low lifestyle. So you might even in church. Now I'm gonna take it to church, and we're taking it because a lot of times it's happened in church, and you know your spouse is living a down low lifestyle because your husband is a pastor, he's a minister, he's a deacon, and you don't want anybody to know. So you are saving face, and you're sitting there, and you're going through the hurt and the pain because you can't tell nobody because you are there, you are protecting them. Give us a call,
I'd rather live as a gangster about to
916-226-9226.
down the street than to sit in church and be dying like that.
But a
Joe,
lot of
would
people
you stay
are.
with Lady Charmaine if you found out she had a lover on the side, like a
Ooh-wee.
female lover?
But you know what? Before I even answer that, there was the lady that said there's a couple that said about competing, the competition.
That's
That
crazy.
I thought to myself, I'm thinking whether you cheat with a man, cheat with a woman, it's still cheating. But the cheat with the same sex, and then the insecurity and the just the how that hit
weight.
the weight of just like, wow, how can you compete with that? Because she wasn't a man and he wanted a man. So that whole thing right there, that just kind of stunned me because the hurt, I couldn't imagine the hurt and the feeling of neglect. It's just, it seems it would go deeper because it's, how can you compete? Yeah, that's another thing. But as far as Lady Charmaine, if she decides to do her thing, then I have to look at memories and wave her goodbye because cheating in anything, I couldn't deal with it. I couldn't deal with it. I'm gonna just say I don't know. I can my heart. I would just be too broken to deal with that, and
Your
I would have
mind
to.
minute- the mind
I was
minute
like,
with
okay,
that.
where did I go wrong? What happened? I can't. I couldn't deal with all the dreams and all the. It'd just be gone. I'd just be hurt. I don't know if I can be. I don't know if I can recover. God had to help me.
Here's another level.
Has
Here's another
with
level.
many.
So with my husband, me marrying who I married, and then my son doing what he doing, I
Yeah.
was like, I did that to my son. I had that whole guilt. It was crazy.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Can't
The
imagine.
mind torture.
I did read a report that they say homosexuality is actually genetic. They say that it's the
Yeah,
trait.
we can go with
That's
that.
a big fight.
That's a whole.
'Cause
nother
there's
level of
some
that
There's some that
But
believe
then-
that.
I don't know if it'll
I
be
don't know.
because of what
We
you're
all try to
socialized
prove
It's
it.
an
around.
agenda. It's an agenda.
You know,
They-
like socialized versus genetic.
Now she done got real deep, so I don't know anything about the genetics, anything about that.
I mean, but man, we are always trying to prove
Find a
something,
way.
trying to
Yeah,
find
yeah,
something.
yeah.
There's
Absolutely.
scientific evidence trying
Yeah,
to do
so we
this
can
and
deal
that.
Always
with
trying to
it.
back. Yeah.
So we can
Isn't
deal
that
with it on some
amazing?
kind of level.
I don't
Our coping
necessarily.
skills. Our coping
think,
skills,
but
they're
hey,
trash.
Right.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Hi, you're live on Hot Topics. Thank you for calling in.
Hi, this is Jeff Crawford.
Hey, Jeffrey, how are you?
I'm fine. Now, you know this is my passion, right?
Right. Thank you for calling in. I appreciate it.
And I just stumbled upon it.
So tell us your story.
Well, you probably know a little bit about my story. Hey, Brother Joe, how you doing?
Hey, Jeff, doing good.
Good. I had to. I was heard an echo, so I had to turn my volume down.
Thank
that
you.
was a hesitation. But anyway, just to go on what Brother Joe was saying about competing. Well, maybe I should do a little introduction before I go into it. Okay. I wasn't a down low person. I'm a little nervous, y'all.
No,
Don't be.
that's-
Don't
you know I love you, Jeffrey.
Transparency is healthy.
You know we
All
family,
right.
so you are good. I love
No,
you.
for real.
You
Don't
can
get
be
free.
helping somebody right now.
Yeah, we all love you. We here to support you. We your fans.
Yes.
Oh yeah. I mean, I have no shame or anything like that. It's just like public speaking is not.
Oh, okay.
my,
Public speaking. Okay,
my
okay. We
thing.
good. We good then. Go ahead. We good.
I saw you live streaming. You did pretty
So
good.
I'm stepping out.
Good.
Out of my comfort zone.
All
Let
right.
us have it.
So
Let us have it.
anyway, Charmaine knows a little bit about my story. I met her at Expo Gospel, and she mentioned it maybe a few minutes ago. And so I struggled with homosexuality as far as early as I can remember. But and I came to know the Lord from a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
So, and once I searched the scriptures and, and everything and found out, what God had to say, about homosexuality, I knew it was wrong. I always felt it was, I always felt, that I was different, but biblically, once I began to search the scriptures and developed a relationship with the Lord, I knew it was wrong. So, from that all the way up, well, let me just say this. When I was 16, I cried out to the Lord and asked him, why am I like this? I don't want to be like this. I get teased, called faggot and whatever, right? So I cried out to him and I said, why me? And he said, why not you?
Mm-hmm.
If you know that I am almighty, I created the stars, the heavens, I created you, and I'm all powerful. Why not you? So, and I thought about it, and I was like, okay. And he said, I have the power. I'm allowing you. I didn't make you this way, but I'm allowing you to go through this so you can be a testimony to those who are struggling with this, that if they allow me and they develop a relationship with me, I can deliver them out of this and transform their lives. Not to say that he's going to wipe the thought out or whatever,
Right.
but he can take you, through it. So you're going to be a testimony to that, right? So moving all the way up to when I met my wife, which I met her at Philadelphia. I didn't know I didn't even know I was going to be married, but I did say to the Lord in my 20s that if I was to ever get married, I want to be married by the time I'm 30.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I came to ask, I just got out of a homosexual relationship, and I knew my sister-in-law and a good friend of mine had dreams about me, about destruction and blood, and they had a similar dream, and they had never talked to each other. And so at this particular point in my life, I was in a relationship. I was living in Antioch, and the dude I was in a relationship was in San Francisco. So I would go all the way from Antioch on the weekends and be with him, right? But still, so one particular day, I used to take my Bible to his house and everything, and he was the type of person, this is who I am, that this is who I am, and, and that's it, right? So anyway, so one weekend I was at his house. I remember what my sister-in-law and my friend told me, and the Lord just revealed their dreams to me. And the blood was. Now up until this point, I had been with different people, and at least I can count at least about 5 of those people have died of AIDS, and here I am. The Lord had spared my life, right? So I took the dream as my blood. If I continue in this, my blood would be tainted with HIV or AIDS, right? And the ultimate would be my death, right? So in that weekend, the Lord just specifically, it wasn't an audible voice, but it was in my spirit. He said, it's either him or me. And so, and there was no doubt in my mind that that was the Lord speaking to me, right? So I went to him crying, bringing scripture to him, brought scripture to him. And, you know, and I was like, this is it. You know, the Lord is calling me, you know. So I ended it with him. And then that's when I went to ask for gospel. And that's when I met Charmaine. So I think it was Axe was going, they went witnessing. And I used to catch the van with Sister Grace, my ex-wife's mother.
Mm-hmm.
And so one Saturday we went witnessing, and I don't know if you know Sister Jean. You remember Sister Jean that used to drive the van?
Yep.
Okay. Well, she introduced me to Grace, although I had seen Grace on the van, but I didn't know her, right? So she introduced me to Grace. And so Grace said, you know, after this, I'm going to be, frying some chicken. We're fellowshipping at my house. You know, come on over in about maybe like 2 or 3 hours, right? So I went home, and then I went to her house. And so a bunch of saints was there, and they were testifying, telling their testimony. You know how we used to do,
right?
Charmaine.
Yep.
And so afterwards, my ex-wife was there, so I hadn't seen her at Acts, but I had seen her mother.
Mm-hmm.
So she was there, and so upon them first meeting me, I told my testimony and my struggle, part of what I just told you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And so she knew from day one when she met me. I didn't know this woman was going to be my wife or anything like that. But once we began, we became interested in each other, and we started to date. Then I told her, you know, so she knew from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So I told her, you know, once I realized, you know, that I wanted her to be my wife and the feelings were mutual, that we should go, you know, get an age test, you know, although I haven't, you know, been doing. And from that time, I think I was celibate for about a year.
Okay.
When we made that decision. And so she was like, well, I've been promiscuous and stuff too. So sure. So we went and got an AIDS test and everything. And so both of our tests were negative and everything. So we got married. So up until, and our marriage was fine, you know, for 3 years, but I think about maybe like 3 or 4 years. And then I started to struggle, you know, a little bit, but I would tell her. Okay. I was very brutally honest. I think I was too honest. So going back to what Joe was saying, you know, how he couldn't take it if you know, that happened, you know, to you, Charmaine, how could he compete? Well, she actually said that to me. You know, how can I can't compete with that, you know, and I know it was devastating for her. I didn't do anything at the time, but when this last instance that broke our marriage up, I was really tempted with this guy, and but I told her, and so I'm thinking, you know, this is my wife. We're one, you know. So if we're one, she should know the very innermost, you know, parts of me and my struggles, right? But at the time, you know, she couldn't handle it. Maybe I should have confided in somebody else spiritual that could really, you know, pray for me. So going back to the competition thing, so no, she shouldn't have to compete. I don't even care if it was another woman. She shouldn't have to compete.
Right.
Whether it's a man or woman. You know, nobody should have to compete with anybody, you know, be it man or woman. You know, so I tried to reassure her that this has nothing to do with you. You're a beautiful woman. I'm sexually attracted to you. I've been struggling with this since I was a child. It's no reflection on you whatsoever. So I guess I don't know the point I'm trying to make, but I'm just telling my story. But
So now are you?
But as far as the down low aspect of it, I believe people should be honest. You know, you should get, because I gave my wife a choice. You know, I wasn't living the lifestyle, and I'm not even living the lifestyle now. But do I still struggle and have thoughts of a man of seeing a man and he may be attractive to me? Now, not every man is not attracted to me, but do I still have that? Yes, I do. I will be lying if I say no. But my love for God supersedes my my fleshly desire, and that's my sacrifice I give to Him daily, because I know that He loves me and He knows what's best for me. So yeah, that's the sacrifice and the love I give to Him, to give up my own, you know, fleshly desire. So yeah, that's my story. And as far as the down low, I don't agree with it. I think everybody should be given a choice on whether they still want to be with you or not. And I understand the struggle. So I understand of you not being ostracized, especially in the church, and of you feeling shameful. But on the down low aspect, you're involving somebody else's life.
Right.
You know, and you're not giving them that choice. So,
right. So
sorry that took a long time. But
so Jeffrey, I do have this question
yeah.
though. I do have a question. So did your wife leave because she just could not compete with the feelings and emotions you were having for a man?
Well, we got back together. She had filed divorce, and I think a couple of weeks before my birthday, she came back and said, I want to work it out. So we stayed up till like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning talking, and I didn't even go in the house because I was staying with my mom during that time, and I went back to our apartment that we had together, and I just stayed in the parking lot with her. We stayed up to 2 and 3 in the morning. So eventually we did get back together, but then other circumstances and stuff like that. Like we developed, because we used to have our bank account together. Everything was together. We did everything together. So when we separated, I got a new car. He got a new car. We developed different bills, more bills and stuff. So we got back together. She didn't want to put our money back together, and she was used to going out. Maybe I think we were separated maybe like for 6 months or so or more. And, she had started going out and,
she was living
hanging
single.
with, different friends. She wanted to continue to do that.
Right. Okay.
So she wanted to continue to do that. And she started dressing a little differently, a little bit more provocatively and stuff. And so, when we got back together, it was just a different dynamic, from when we were first together.
Right. Okay.
So, I hope I'm answering your question.
Well, it's in a sort of kind of way, but now I see why when you guys got back together, there was other things that contributed to your divorce. But I want to say thank you so much for calling in. Go ahead.
All right. So I guess ultimately, if that hadn't been a factor, maybe we still would have been together.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. You guys have some beautiful children. I love your kids. But again, like I said, I wanted to say thank you so much for sharing your story and being open to share that and to share the struggle that people do have. And, before you got married and then when you got married and sharing your struggles, because I think men should, and women, if they're having those same struggles, be open and honest about the feelings that they are having. So I want to commend you on that. At least you were open and honest with your wife about what was going on with you. So I commend you, Jeff. Thank you.
And I was open and honest with y'all.
Yes, you were.
Yeah. Thank you, Brother Jeff, for sharing that.
And we love you, Jeff.
Love you,
and
man.
definitely God bless you. And call in anytime. I always enjoy you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for y'all patience.
Absolutely. Thank you,
You're
Jeff.
welcome.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Yeah, I thank him for definitely sharing his story,
Definitely.
you know, because I think that we heard from, of course, two women that were married to men that were living a down low life. We heard from a young lady whose father was living a down low life. We got a chance to hear from a gentleman who was struggling with those feelings and emotions. So thank you, everyone, for calling in on the show. We really appreciate you all. And I want to remind everyone that we are doing a Lady Charmaine's night at the movies, and I want all of you to be able to join me at the movies. And all you have to do is go to LadyCharmaineLive.com and register right there. Tickets are going fast. So if you would like to join me on May the 30th, the theater and the time will be announced. It will be held here in Sacramento. If you want to go see the new movie with Gabrielle Union, Breaking In, go to LadyCharmaineLive.com and make sure you sign up for your tickets. You get a ticket for you and a guest. Also, I want to say to Up and Away Travel Services, thank you so much for sponsoring the Lady Charmaine Live show. And if you would like to start your own home travel business, you say, I want to start a business, I want to travel as well and make some money, I want you to call Sherry Brockman at 916-226-9226 and make sure you start your travel business today or book your trip at Up and Away Travel Services. And don't forget to join us on our Hot Topics page. It's Hot Topics, Real Talk, No Chaser. Follow me on all my social media outlets. And to my friends, my family, my folks, thank y'all for joining me today.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, to my sweet weeks, Joe, to my girl Marie, Miss Imani. She say her face is swollen, but I can't tell though.
That's that motto I gave y'all, that cheekbone.
Yeah. She sent me a picture, and I thought she might have had an engagement ring on. I
Y'all,
can see
she couldn't figure it out. My cheek
Well,
was, I was looking like Martin. Okay,
What's wrong with it? She look happy.
It was
a beautiful day.
And then we have the hair hustler. Hope we didn't put him to sleep. The
No,
hair
I'm
hustler, Mr. Derek Dennis. to my peeps, and again, thank you all so much. And make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And please share this video if you know somebody is going through it. If you thought it was a good topic, or even if you've gone through it, you need to go back and hear what these callers had to say. Definitely like and share this video as well onto your page. And again, we just want to say thank you guys so much for tuning in to Hot Topics with Lady Charmaine and my friends and my partners. See you guys later. Bye-bye.